Greetings. Welcome to Christian News and Views. This is episode 26-7, and this is Friday. Well, you all know about the raid that took place down in Venezuela. There have been a lot of criticisms about whether President Trump violated the Constitution. It's gotten to the point that I decided that I needed to comment on this. This is big news. And so we're going to start out with a question. Has a president ever used the military in a raid or temporary military operation without seeking congressional approval? Now, that seems to be the big question out there. And the answer is very simple. Yes. That's the end of this episode. No, it's not. I'm going to give you more. But the answer is yes. U.S. presidents have frequently initiated significant military actions, including conflicts often called wars, without a formal congressional declaration. This list may surprise you. There's the Korean War, the Vietnam War, which I was in, Kosovo, Afghanistan, Iraq in 2003, and Libya. These are six examples. It's pretty significant. These actions relied on UN resolutions or interpretations of executive power. Now let's go through these. In 1973, the War Powers Resolution was enacted to limit unilateral action. So we're going to look at this list again. And no, I want you to pay attention to the dates. Remember that the War Powers Resolution was 1973. The Korean War, 1950 to 1953, that was based on a UN resolution. Vietnam War in the 1960s into the 1970s, that was based on the Gulf of Tonkin resolution. The Kosovo and Libya, 1990s and to 2000s. And that was based on executive authority. And the Afghanistan, 2001, and Iraq, 2003. That was a congressional passed authorization for use of military force, usually referred to as AUMF. It was not a formal declaration of war. Reasons this happens. Well, while the Constitution grants Congress the power to declare war, presidents have inherent executive powers as commander in chief. That means all the military forces are under them. He's the commander in chief. The nature of post-World World War II conflicts, such as the Cold War, counterterrorism, peacekeeping, often don't fit the traditional war declarations. The War Powers Resolution of 1973 was meant to curb presidential power and to limit deployments without congressional approval, but its effectiveness is debated. And in essence, while the power to declare war lies with Congress, presidents have historically deployed forces without war being declared. These are often called undeclared wars or armed conflicts. So, in my opinion, the current storm of criticism is much ado over nothing. President Trump simply followed historical precedent. He sent our forces into Venezuela in a raid. It had one goal, it met it, and they left. That was as simple as it can be. The president's declaration regarding running the country is another issue. That's after it was all over with, he made that declaration. And that's a totally different issue. It's political. I think it's hyperbole, perhaps, or something of this nature. I don't think he really means it, but he can threaten it, and now he's already demonstrated he has the power to do that, to do things like that, and so it gives him lever, if you will, to use to, while not legally or can actually run in the country, can certainly have a lot of influence in that area. But that's a totally different issue. The raid appears to me to be within the historical parameters set by previous presidents. So, good job, Mr. President. Oh, by the way, have all you out there noticed how violent and how loud the Venezuelans have protested? Neither have I. The truth is that the Venezuelan people actually celebrated in the streets. I've seen pictures of it. It's pretty sad when people criticize the president of the United States for going in and liberating other people. By the way, please note this. This was not a legitimate president of Venezuela, not a legitimate government. They lost that when this sounds like 2020, I think. But they lost it because they changed or illegally um, uh, invalidated or massaged the election so that he won. Other groups who have apparently have access to documents that prove otherwise showed that the opposition leader beat him 2-1. So he's illegal. Basically he's a criminal, and it's not just as in that case. He's been a criminal since the day he took office. He has been involved in drug smuggling. I don't know about human trafficking, but I wouldn't put that past him. Uh, People who are brave enough to stand up and resist him or criticize him have a way of disappearing, never to be seen again, or they go into jail, or they are just there's a massive human rights violations that he's guilty of. So I don't feel sorry for him. I rejoice over the fact that the United States went in and did something right for a change. And they did it without being, we weren't forced to by being attacked ourselves, but the need was there. And some people will say, oh, the reason we want the oil. We don't need their oil. We've got plenty of our own. What we want to do, and as far as the oil part is to keep China from getting, because China wanted that oil, was trying to make some kind of agreement with them. And so this raid negates that, any opportunity for that. And so that's something that we'll bear watching, what it's going to do on an international front. But I think that the show of force has sent a message. I said this before. It has sent a message. Here he's sending a message to China saying, you can't have their oil. And China needs it. Really, really, really needs it. He sent a message to Russia. You think that you can just stub your nose at America and get away with it? Think again. And so he's sending a message. And he's sending a message here at home, too. He got elected to make America great again. Now, I'll say again, I always say, to some extent, he can exceed in that, and he is. But the only way we'll ever be truly great again is when we as a nation turn back to worshiping God, not the gods of the world, but the one God, the only God. Worship God, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And he's actually moved the government out of the way on for that. So, but that's the only way it can truly be great again. But save that. he can restore much of what the United States has lost in the past several decades. Well, you have a great day. I hope this has been informative, encouraging, and maybe even inspirational. And don't forget, TNR Independent Books is a Christian publisher. I offer services for Christians, or whether you are a pastor, evangelist, a member of a local church. If you are serving in your church, I have services that I can provide you to help you become a published author. Well, and it is TNR Independent Books that sponsors this podcast. Well, you have a great day, and I will see you in the next episode.